pinball machine number 2 arrived. I got the phone call on Monday from the distributor that I bought it from, and he's like, "Yep, I got it. I'm going to be shipping it to you because I don't have a vehicle big enough to transport it, and it'll be there tomorrow, or it should get there tomorrow." And I'm like, "Great." So Tuesday, and then I get the text message from the shipping company, the freight shipping company, like, "Yep, we're going to be there on Tuesday, sometime between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m." I'm like, "Great, wonderful." Because that's a very broad time frame, and I had I work from home, but like on Tuesday I actually was supposed to give a job interview because we're hiring, and then I was also supposed to present a demo of the software we've been building for another client, and then I was supposed to lead another client meeting. Anyway, it was a bad time for it, but I'm like, I don't want to delay it because if you delay it too often, they just return it to sender, and I didn't want that, and I didn't know when they were going to come. So they finally showed up at about 2:30. So it was very well within the window. I just didn't know when it was, and 2:30 is when my demo for one of our clients was. So my coworkers came in and did a solid and covered for me on that. But yeah, so I got the Rush limited edition pinball machine. When I say limited edition, this is an actual full-size pinball machine, same one you see in arcades, same one you see in bars. So the way Stern Pinball does things is they have the Pro edition, the Premium edition, and the Limited edition. The Pro edition is the cheapest, and I'm using my bunny ears. For those on the podcast, I'm using bunny ears on this. And it's the cheapest at $8,000 or something like that. Because it has the least amount of moving parts. And once again, I'm using my quotty fingers because there's still a lot of moving parts in it. The Premium Edition, they actually haven't shipped any of yet. But that actually has all the bells and whistles. And then the Limited Edition is a limited version of the Premium with different graphics, different art packages. It's signed by the designer, and you get this little certificate, not signed by the band, unfortunately, but signed by Gary Stern, who is the head of Stern Pinball. And this is my certificate that says I got, out of the 1,000 limited editions that are ever being made, I got number 944. So I have 944 out of 1,000. So this is going to be on YouTube for the podcast, folks, because I do actually have video of what this is like. And this is not a full video. This is not a full walkthrough of things because I've already done that. So in June, I got the Mandalorian Premium, not the limited edition of that one, the premium version of the Mandalorian, and that's now on our YouTube over at VOG Network. And I actually kind of go through each step of the process. I didn't do that here. So I got some of the highlights is what I'm going to be showing. So there's the button. So this is the size of the box. It's a big box. The Rush pinball machine is about 295 pounds. So it comes in a big, huge box on a pallet. And this is also some of the stuff I'm going to be showing here is about how it is Stern Insider connected. So that is their online achievement system. So you actually scan your phone. You scan a QR code, which you can get on your phone, but you can also print it out and just scan it. And then it stores your high scores and achievements and stuff like that. So essentially, to put together a pinball table, you basically, it comes kind of standing up, and you put the front legs on, and then you very slowly pull the table down, and then you're supposed to lift the back part up, which, remember, this is a 300-pound table, and then you're supposed to put the back legs on. So this was where the first problem happened, and I don't actually have video of this part because it was just one of those things where let's just say this one didn't go smooth. So unfortunately, I had one of the issues with this table that came from the factory. So when you get the pinball table, it comes with the bolts that you bolt into the leg already kind of in. And so you take the bolts out, you grab the leg, you put the leg on, and you bolt it in. That's how it's supposed to work. Well, when I took the bolt out of the back left side, or the back right side of the table, I guess, the plate inside that it bolted into shifted just a little tiny bit. which meant I couldn't get it back in. So we wound up, my wife actually came down and we wound up and kind of like tried to do some like troubleshooting and stuff. And because we couldn't get the leg in, we couldn't get the legs secure in. And remember, this is a 300-pound table. You want the legs to be secure and not wobbly and anything like that. So we wound up like taking the plate off. Like there are 6 screws. So we got a nut driver and like took that plate off and came out, and it was machine bad. And we had to rethread it basically. We rethreaded the bolt, and then we were able to get it on. So that is why this next shot is early of me opening up the machine, because I wanted to do this after I had wheeled it into position or pushed it into position. But unfortunately, because we had to deal with stuff on the inside to take that plate out, we actually had to take like the play field all the back so we could get to the plate on the inside, which I didn't film. We had to like go ahead and open up and unbox it and reveal it out in the hallway instead of where it is. So that's where we are right now. So we're now looking at the machine's being propped up by a drum throne, a drum stool in the back, because we've got to take all this stuff off. We have to bring the back box up so we can get inside to the back part. So this machine was built on Valentine's Day. It was built on February 14th, 2022. So this is me covering my eyes so I don't hit myself with the flying string thing that pulls it in. But so then we basically bring the back box up. And what's neat about this, the limited edition, is that it's a mirrored back glass. So it's actually a mirror. You can't really tell when the game is on, but you can absolutely tell when the game is powered off and there's no lights. E3VL says you should have worn safety goggles. I probably should have, but I just decided to look away. So luckily, the Rush pinball machine actually does not have anything on the inside that you've got to like unbox. The Mandalorian had a little plastic cover around the Razor Crest, but the Rush didn't have anything on the inside you had to take out. Once you opened it up, it was ready to go if you actually had your leg on. They attached the certificate of authenticity to the back glass. I pulled it out, and that's what I showed you earlier. The Bregman asks, is there an NSFW version of this video? No, I did not. I didn't film the whole process, so most of this time I'm not actually filming because I've already filmed a lot of this stuff before. So this is what the table looks like when it's off and in kind of, doing it, when it's just sitting off and under a little bit of light. I don't have that much light. But we have a little plate that says, a little plaque that says which one we are. John Borg is the game designer. He signed it. It's on there. He just signs his name John. He didn't even put his last name there. But he's the designer. The band didn't sign any of these because they're in Canada and, COVID stuff. So this is me turning it on for like the second time once it got into the room. So we did figure out the leg and put it in. This is like a couple hours later, actually. And so I was showing here the first boot up, and you'll actually see on the side when it turns itself on, you'll see the lights all along the side of the cabinet, the side of the playfield on the wall, all start kind of lighting up. That's the expression lighting system, and that really does add a lot because it's all synced to the music, and that's all it does is it syncs to the music. S. Jared Nomad says 5 hours and some yelling later. Yes. That's exactly what it was. I didn't yell all that much. I was kind of sad. So this is all the lights are coming on. Like everything worked inside the playfield. It was amazing. Everything worked first try. Once I got it on, it was just getting that leg on. That was the part that was a problem. So now we're going to threaten DMCA here. But this is how the insider works. So I take my phone and I scan it, and it automatically pulls in my name, my initials, my color, my avatar, and because it's connected over Wi-Fi. So the machine is actually connected over Wi-Fi and talking to the Stern servers. And so in the Rush pin, in all their music pins, you pick your song at the beginning. And there's 17 songs total, and I think about 10 of them are selectable in the first part. And then others are like wizard modes, multi-ball modes, and stuff like that. So this is, and you can kind of see in this video, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. So you can see in the video how the side lights, the expression lighting system, they actually react to the music. And it gets a little bit more visible the more you play, but it really does add a neat effect, and it's on the limited edition. There's an achievement, so when you get when you do something, you get an achievement, and this is how they're trying to help teach people the rules of the game, because now you actually have things you want to do. And so they give you these achievements, and those achievements pop the first time you get them. So this is the first time I've actually played on my Insider account. And you can then go into the app, and you can see when you got what achievements you were trying to get, and stuff like that. So the great thing about the Rush pinball machine whenever you play it is there are a lot of multi-balls, and it's not random when you get multi-balls, but the rules are so dense. I think it's like a 40-page manual type of thing that's like full-page manual if you read it, that will teach you how to, what everything does. There's 7 different multi-balls in the game. So in the middle, well, first off, there's 2 kind of gimmicks here. There's this vertical up kicker that puts the ball up, but then there's this time machine with a ramp that goes up and down on the premium and the limited editions. And the ball, there's a magnet inside that holds the ball when you shoot into it. So it's kind of cool, and it'll like hold the ball and then shoot it back out at you, or shoot it out in the past, and that's how it kind of holds on, so you can see what you're supposed to do. Breakman says the balls look kind of big to me. I know he's trying to make a lame joke, but they're normal pinballs. There's also in this one there is this clock, and a lot of the rules are based on this clock, which looks like one of Neil Peart's drum sets, and you actually are supposed to advance the timer depending on what you're trying to do. So those are some of the features of it. Other than that, they've got the lighted Rush ramp with the lighted signature of Rush. They've got Rush drop targets that you're supposed to hit and stuff. So it's the playfield looks really good, and especially it gets lit up really well while you're playing, and it's wonderful. And the Breakman says maybe it's just a camera angle. No, yeah, it probably was just a camera angle because it's real hard to set up a tripod and then try to play and get the right angle. So I didn't do too well in getting this. But no, it's all standard stuff. So when you drain, you lose the ball. It actually goes over what achievements you got at the very end. And so you can see how you did and what you did. And like I said, those achievements only pop the first time you play. So if you get all the achievements, you're not going to hear that sound. And so this was and also the nice thing about Insider Connected is it pre-fills your initials or your name, so you don't have to go through that when you get high scores or anything like that. So it was a lot. It's a lot of fun. I'll talk a little bit about it a little bit more. The other nice thing, if you're on free play, is it remembers you, and so it'll actually say, "Hey, you want to play again with your same credentials?" And so then you can do that. So Breakman asked, "What's the sound quality?" We'll get to that in a second. So the last thing that's being shown here is this is the tour of the game room, of the arcade room as it stands now. We've done a little bit since last time. We've hung the black lights to the ceiling. We haven't actually gotten the cord down, but there's the Mandalorian standing next to it. It's ready to be played as well. I actually have, that's an old PlayStation 2 kiosk from Media Play before they went out of business. I bought it when they were going out of business, and I wasn't supposed to. Sony was supposed to get it back. So then I've got the Outrun arcade 1-up, and then the Star Wars arcade 1-up, and then the Tron arcade 1-up, all sitting here, all ready to be played. And then I actually have this shelf on the top, and some of the people that are in the chat would like some of this stuff, because there's my Beatmania 2DX controllers, Taiko no Tetsujin controllers, Paradise, Donkey Konga, and then all the Intellivision, stuff like that. So this is that's the arcade as it shows right now. It's getting kind of cramped in there. I'm actually running out of things I can put in there. So I gotta kind of worry about that. Because, hopefully I won't need to get anything else in there. And so the thing about the Insider Connected is, one of the things that I don't like about what it's doing, and this is a hardware issue on their part, is that it uses a Wi-Fi dongle. It uses a USB Wi-Fi antenna, and it's hooked up to one of the Wi-Fi antennas. And so my house, the way the Wi-Fi is that up here on the second floor, I actually have the router. And that's my Wi-Fi router. It's the main router. And I have an extender that I got back in December. I have an extender down on the main floor hallway. And that way, the Wi-Fi signal can reach down into the arcade, because I was actually having a problem with the Tron Arcade 1-Up not always being able to connect to the Wi-Fi because it was just too far away. So I put the extender down there, and that way I actually get good signal. And most devices are smart enough, when you see the same network ID that's on a different channel, it will pick the channel that has the biggest signal strength. Not the USB Wi-Fi that is in the Stern Pinball. No, it connects all the way up to my router up here, which has like a signal strength of like 20, instead of the signal strength of like 75, which is closer. So every once in a while, it'll lose connection, and like if I got a good score, if it doesn't have connection to Stern servers, then that score doesn't count. And so if you got any achievements, those achievements don't count. So that kind of sucks. But the game itself, it flows real well. I actually enjoy playing it, just the way the game plays, more than I like Mandalorian. It seems I can save my shots a lot more. I don't drain as much. The shots, I'm not going to say the shots are more forgiving, but I can actually play longer. My games last longer on Rush than they do on Mandalorian. This one is going to be bolted to my floor. That's how much I really enjoy playing it. Mandalorian might not last too much longer. And I know that there is a market for those Mandalorians because Stern's got a backlog. So there are people I could probably actually make money. I could sell my Mandalorian for more than I paid for it, probably. So, and Questbuster says, it looks like a fun table. Yes, it's really fun. And Rush is my favorite band. So that is, that kind of, I bought it sight unseen. I had never played it or anything until I got it in my house. So I bought it sight unseen. So there was a question, how's the sound quality? It sucks. The limited edition even apparently has better speakers. And I'm using my quotey fingers again. Didn't sound that good. And this has always been an issue with Stern, with a lot of the pinball machines, which is why there are aftermarket kits. And there are aftermarket kits that do this. There's a couple ways you can do it. Some people just get like an external subwoofer and then just run a cable up, and you can actually just get the audio and basically run it through a subwoofer, and that helps for a lot of people. The Brainman asks, can you perhaps add your own speakers? Well, what I have is called Pinwoofer. So Pinwoofer is a mod done by a longtime electrician, a retired electrician actually, who built this modification where it uses a lot of car audio ideas to give you better speakers and an external amplifier. So I'm actually going to go through this a little bit and show what goes on here. So this is the next night of me going through, and this is what it looks like to do kind of a modification to your pinball machine. So this is me taking off bringing down the speaker panel and taking off the back glass, not using gloves. So I've smudged up my nice mirrored back glass for Rush. And essentially, you go in, you take off the Stern uses Molex connectors everywhere, which is the same kind of connectors that if you're building a PC that everything hooks up to. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to solder anything, but they are really difficult to get off. I haven't figured that out. But there's a power board that you plug in, and you're basically intercepting the power that the pinball machine gets, and you are hooking it up, and there is this other power board that powers the external amp. And then there's an extra soundboard that takes the sound data from the Stern Spike 2 board, and this also exists for other pinball machines. So if you have a Jersey Jack or an American Pinball, you can actually get this kit for those. And even like old like Bally Midway games, like from the 90s, you can get these for. And then you basically run a cable, and then you take off the existing speakers. So you essentially go through and you take out the speakers that exist. So there are 3 speakers in a pinball cabinet. There are 2 back box speakers, and then there's a cabinet speaker. And the cabinet speaker is theoretically the one that gives you your bass. And so you take out, you have to use a nut driver to take these out. And then you can take out the original speakers, which had a Molex connector connected to the terminals. And Breakman says, "Oh man, those do look like factory car speakers." Yes, it probably is. These are factory speakers. But the Pinwoofer kit comes with not only speakers, but also a 3D printed mount that's specifically made for your pinball machine that you put in so you can mount the speaker to your pinball machine. The mounts for my Mandalorian were different than the ones for that were here on the Rush machine. And then you take another car audio speaker, which Tiger Claw asked last week, what are the watts? They're 200-watt speakers. I actually looked. It was on the box. These are Pile speakers, Pyle. They're 200-watt speakers is at least what these back box speakers are. And then you connect the terminals from the Pinwoofer. They've got this whole like cable kit. And then you connect those to the terminals of these new speakers. Questbridge says, "Thank goodness they made the speakers easy to remove instead of using weird-ass screws to bolt them in." I mean, these are bolts. Like, they're not screws. Like, I still had to use a nut driver to get them out. But it is still standard equipment because pinball manufacturers know that independent operators are going to be repairing these things. There is no problem with right to repair in the pinball industry. Everybody's going to be repairing all this stuff, and so they need to make things accessible. So once you get those speakers in, then you got to deal with the cabinet speakers. So if you've ever wondered, and you didn't see the last video, how do you get inside a pinball machine? You take off the lock bar first, and then you very carefully take the glass out and try not to do it too quick. And then you want to put the glass down on carpet. You do not want to put the glass down on hardwood floor or concrete because it will shatter, and you do not want that. Do not have it shatter. So you can be very careful. And then you lift the playfield up, and then you need to remember to eject all the balls. So there's a little solenoid, and you push, and it's the same kicker that kicks the balls up when you start a game, and you grab grab all, and the game will tell you if there's 4 or 6 of them. You grab them all, you take them out, and then you pull the game out. You actually do have to kind of jerk it a little bit to get over a little hump, a little locking mechanism, and then you can pull it up and set it up along the rails of the back box. So that's the cabinet speaker, and it's supposed to give you it's supposed to give you a lot of bass, and it doesn't. And also you got to realize, like, the main pinball, the Stern pinball doesn't really have a good amplifier. That's really the problem, is the amplifier. So now you basically go in with a nut driver and you take the existing cabinet speaker out. And then there's another 3D printed mount specifically for your machine, so you can mount in your cabinet speaker, which they provide. So the Pinwoofer kit comes with the speakers, all the cables, all the nuts, the washers, and all these 3D printed parts and all the cabling and everything. So it's a simple, but you do have to kind of finagle some things, and it really does help if you know what you're doing. So then you put the new kit in, the new speaker is, and then you attach the speaker cables to it. The Ringman says the amp isn't upgradable. The amp is on the board. What this kit does is it gives me an amp. So now I actually have this external amp with knobs on it that I can now adjust. So, and it lives inside the coin door. So you actually have to take the coin box out because the coin box rattles. And then the way you test it is you go in and there's a little tab you can pull out to where the coin box is open. You can actually play the game. And you can't really tell because I'm using a camcorder audio. But so far, it really does sound better already. And I can now adjust the bass, the treble, the volume of the cabinet speaker, the volume of the back box speaker, the overall volume. And I have a lot more control over it. So that is why you do this, because yes, the amp is originally on the board. This bypasses that amp and uses this external amp. And then you're supposed to play it a little bit to see if you really like it. But the table shakes a lot more with the bass. It sounds really, really good. And then you essentially, once you've got it set, there's a little tab. You pull it back in because you don't want to reach your hand underneath. You don't want to reach your hand inside when like all this voltage is going on under the playfield because there's a lot of like hanging down wires and stuff. And then you basically put the amp back in the back box, close it up, and then you can play. And Breakman says, you found a use for the Tron stool because Tron is going to be ignored for a while. Yeah, the Tron stool is great for putting the Pinwoofer on. So that is the Pinwoofer installation. And so it was going all good. It was going all good. And then I'd done that part, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I put the camera away and everything. And so I was trying to dial it in a little bit more. And so I was going through some settings. There's some sound settings. There's like a 10-band EQ on the limited editions and stuff. And there was an EQ filter mode. And I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what the other EQ filters are. Because you do actually have to play with settings to figure out what the actual, how you want to dial in the machine. So I changed the EQ filter settings, and I heard a pop. And then there was no sound. And then, and there wasn't even any kind of like hiss from the speakers. And then I open up the coin door. I mean, the pinball machine's still on. I open up the coin door, and the light on the little Pinwoofer app is not on anymore. And so I'm, kind of freaking out because I'd already been working on this for like 4 hours. Because I'm not that adept at, using nut drivers and installing speaker cable and stuff like that. I don't work in car audio, which anybody who works in car audio, they look at that and they're like, oh yeah, that's simple, easy peasy. I could do that in an hour. And you probably could. I don't work in car audio. So I open it up and I look and I don't see any magic smoke. I don't see anything busted or anything, but, something happened. And, I basically, I cried, and I didn't cry, but I felt like crying. I was just so exhausted, and I went to bed. Because I'm like, well, great. I got a brand new Rush pinball machine. It sounds great, and now I can't play it. And so I went to bed, emailed the guy. His name's Dan, who mainly does the Pinwoofer stuff. Super patient guy. Now, the thing is, I've already built a Pinwoofer. Like, my Mandalorian has this exact same Pinwoofer kit. So I already knew what I was getting into. And so I had all the same stuff. And so I emailed him. And it turns out that there was just some freak power surge that blew out his power board. And he's like, well, let's try this. Get the power board out of your Mandalorian because they were identical systems. Same speakers. The only thing different was the 3D printed plates. Those were the only things different. So I got the power board out of there, put the power board in the Rush machine, and it worked. So we were able to get that. That took about a day, and then there was actually something else going on with one of the cables that we went into. But we got that fixed up. I was able to crimp a new audio cable, speaker cable, and get that working again. So Mandalorian actually right now doesn't work because I've unplugged the power board because now no power goes to the cabinet because essentially probably one of the capacitors blew or something. Something happened, and when I changed the EQ filter setting, which is actually something you're supposed to change according to what other people have done, it sent a shock and blew out the power board. Thankfully, the pinball machine itself is fine. The power went into the power board of the Pinwoofer. It still passed through just fine, normally, to the Spike 2 board, but the actual amp wasn't getting any power. The little Pinwoofer amp. And the Pinwoofer amp itself, the little black box, that worked fine because I put it in Mandalorian and it worked just fine. So, Tiger Claw says, are the power boards replaceable? Yes, actually. He is sending me 2 new power boards. They should get here Tuesday. So, because the power board was the very first thing I showed in the video. So, the power board is for the Pinwoofer. It's the Pinwoofer power board. And it's essentially you take out the power cable from that goes from the AC box to the spike board. You take it out, and then you put in the power Pinwoofer board. So in the video, I'm replaying the video. That's the power board that I am putting in right now. That's what blew. So I put the other one from the Mandalorian, which was identical, and put it in this, and then it worked. And then I'm going to get a replacement one. So Breakman says he sounds like a really cool dude. He actually was, and he was very patient with me. He's been doing electrician stuff, being an electrician for 30 plus years. He's retired. This is a hobby project for him now. So he was really fun to talk to, and he helped me kind of debug everything, explain some things to me, because I'm not dumb about electrician type stuff and electrical stuff like this. I'm just inexperienced. So he worked through it, and I'm going to get some new power boards so we can kind of replace them. That way I can set that EQ filter setting and see if this power board breaks, because I didn't want to do it with him on the phone, because I want to be able to play my game this weekend. Because without sound, there's no point in playing the game. But I got it fixed. So Rush is up, Mandalorian is out. And then I'll get the one for Mandalorian and bring it in. But it's real nice to play it with Rumble. And the limited edition, I didn't really talk about this, is that I didn't really talk about this, but this one actually has a shaker motor. So a shaker motor, and this is from Stern, the shaker motor rumbles your machine. And so it's like force feedback. It basically like just vibrates the machine. And I started it off, like it comes pre-installed on high. So it does like all the rumbling, and it was actually kind of jarring because I had never really played a game with that. But you can actually adjust it down to be minimal rumble, and it's perfect. And then I've already got the rumbling from the new better subwoofer and the new better amp. So it was fantastic once I got it on minimal. So that's the other one that has. And Breakman says a pinball machine that tilts itself. If you have your tilt bob set way too high, yeah, it will tilt itself when you do that. So that is my my foray into new pinball. So I can't play both games right now, but hopefully by Tuesday I'll have it all set up. But it was a little bit of an adventure to get the game going, to get it up and running and stuff. But I really am excited that I've been able to play it. While we figure out what's going on with the Discord, I do want to mention there was one other mod that I did, which is very simple. This didn't break anything, but this is probably the most important mod you can do. It's these. It's called PINGULP, and these are little cup holders that you attach to the bolts on the machines, and it holds your pint glass, your beer mug, or whatever. And so you're gonna want that. And so I have them on both machines. And also notice here, this is kind of neat. The Rush Limited Edition, the bolts are actually gold. They're not silver like they usually are. They are actually gold bolts. So that was the other mod. And I realized that I didn't get it in any of the videos, so I took that picture real quick tonight.